the biggest story I think in sports right now is Kevin Durant's injury.
Yeah.
Was watching it live when it happened, and I'm just gonna say I'm happy that it appears to be a calf strain.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
You know, because I'm not rooting for Golden State. I'm not. I don't necessarily hate them, but I'm not rooting for them. I don't recall ever root, and it's really weird that I'm not because I really like Steph. Um, I'll get into that a little bit later on. But I really like Steph, and I like KD. You know,
Hmm.
um, but I don't know. I'm just not rooting for them. But I didn't want to see this happen like that. You know what I mean? I didn't want to
Right.
see if they're gonna lose. I didn't necessarily want to see them lose because KD went down. You know, even though Rockets fans can say, well, we lost last year because Chris Paul got hurt because we had
Hmm.
them beat. So it is what it is.
Even though Chris Paul wasn't out there missing 100 pointers in a row, but that's okay.
Man, Chris Paul looks so. I don't want to go too far into Chris Paul. I want to make sure we talk about the injury, but Chris Paul looks so non-special right now in this series, and I really don't think it has anything to do with whether he can physically do it. It's just mentally and from a schematic standpoint. If it's like they don't have a place for him.
I don't know if that's it. They've put him in some positions to succeed recently. Like when he gets on Steph, they've allowed him to be aggressive. And as they've tried to take the ball out of James's hand, they've allowed him to be aggressive. The problem is he ain't hitting no 3 pointers. And a lot of players that we criticize these days, it comes down to the shooting because we're in the
Mhm.
shooting era, right? Ben
Right.
Simmons,
Make a
Russell
mislead.
Westbrook,
Make a mislead.
Joel Embiid, right? Like a lot of players, it just comes down to if they could hit threes, we would be talking a lot different about them. And even the Boston Celtics, we'll get into those guys later. I think Chris Paul, if he just hit 15% more threes, he would be, he'd be in a much better situation right now. Because he's still taking guys off the dribble. I mean, certainly Steph, who can't stay in front of nobody. Steph out there on rollerblades.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he buttering the soles of his shoes before he start playing defense.
I mean, I've said a long time, man. Steph's a below average on ball defender. He
Hmm.
is. He always has been. He's smart, so he plays positional defense well. He knows where he's supposed to be. But if you spread the floor out and you force him to guard guys on ball, he struggles against just about anybody with any level of wiggle. With any level of wiggle. So that's just a fact, you
That was
know.
a criticism I had for him too, because when they would play the Thunder, I'll never forget. Steve Kerr called a timeout after 2 plays where he guarded Westbrook,
Hmm.
and it was a version of what we see now, where he was like, "We ain't having Steph guard this guy."
It
And
can't
my thing, there's
happen.
only so bad I'm gonna talk about somebody in a matchup when you have to hide the guy on the other side to
No,
that extent.
I'm going to tell you, I saw something else that was against a different team where I don't know. Steph must have forgot who they was playing. I don't know what they were playing. The Washington Wizards, and this was prime John Wall, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
John Wall comes up the court, and there's video of this. I wish I could find it. But John Wall comes up the court, and as soon as Steph sees him, he streaks into the corner to go get the guy to the corner
Right,
and Clay
right.
and switches with Clay. And I mean, he takes off running like a bat out of hell.
Hmm.
And at that moment, and because what we've seen from him following that, I haven't seen anything different from him on defense. That's the thing that always keeps me from putting Steph on the next tier. When it
Honestly, the
comes,
only thing that keeps me from, because there's a lot of bad defensive players that people give a lot of credit to.
Mhm.
So I don't do that with Steph in terms of when comparing him to the true elite, like your Durant, Kawhi, Giannis, when LeBron was in his prime, then no. But the second tier guys like Harden and like Westbrook, most of those guys have a certain flaw, and I put Steph above those guys when he's on his game and playing super well, particularly because of the tremendous advantage that his particular skill set gives the rest of his team. But that having been said, before we get too off track with the injury, do we on this show have any confidence in Houston taking advantage of the situation?
I was
KD's not playing the rest of the series. They're not going to see Kevin Durant again.
right. I was really disappointed in their I was disappointed in them across the board last night. I was
Hmm.
disappointed in Harden. I was disappointed in Chris Paul. I was disappointed in Mike D'Antoni. The only person I probably wasn't disappointed with, who you look to for any level of scoring is Eric Gordon. And the reason why I say that, and
He's
not
been
and it was,
fantastic.
right, and it wasn't because he made or missed shots. It had nothing to do with that. It had simply to do with aggression.
Yeah.
You got this team reeling. They were the Warriors were playing terrible, and the worst thing possible that could happen had just happened.
I disagree with that. The worst thing possible would be Steph going down
See,
because
I think
they're, I
I
mean,
think
the numbers don't lie. Like they're incredible when they play with Steph Curry, and they're okay when they play with Durant with no Curry.
but see, I think for this particular matchup, the reason why I think Durant going down is worse for them, should be worse, but Houston still has to show up. The reason why is because Houston is a team who I've always said, like I said, can control tempo. And in order to beat Golden State in the form that they were in before Durant got there, you have to be able to control tempo. What Durant did was Durant allows them to play at a different speed, at a slower speed, because he can execute in the half court better than everybody else in the NBA at this point. So for Houston,
Except Kawhi Leonard.
except
Kawhi Leonard, but yeah.
I don't know, man. In the half court, if you tell me to somebody, I need to say, go get me a bucket. And I'm not. I mean, Kawhi is amazing, but I don't know if there's any human being right
as
now
of right now, I think
world.
he's shooting 99% against Philadelphia on the series. Like he's
I
been
don't know,
so
man.
ridiculously special. But no, I feel what you're saying. They're in the same discussion. The thing for me with it is the control tempo thing works well in theory, but when Clay and Steph are the primary scorers on that team, their ability to detonate is so incredibly high that I do think that's the optimal version of the team, and the team it's the hardest to kill, because when Durant's on the court, it's about, does Durant miss a shot? And Durant can be muscled out of position in certain spots in the court. While he is overall efficient, he's not a guy who is going to get a foul or a bucket no matter what. Sometimes he puts himself in a make or miss situation. And when he's getting twos and you're getting threes, Golden State becomes more beatable. And Durant is good. He's a great 3-point shooter, but he's not Steph, right? He's not even Clay. He's a great 3-point shooter, but he's not the same as those guys, where he's going to hit 14 threes in a game, be so hot that you got guys draped all over him and he's just hitting three after three after three. That's not his game. He might do that every once in a while. Steph and Clay can do that to you every game. You know, I'll take game one, you take game two, and it'll just be 40 points from me, 40 points from you, 8, 9 3-pointers apiece, ain't nothing to it. They just shoot it like that. And what happens with Kevin only has to miss one free throw line fadeaway to 2 Houston 3-pointers for all of a sudden for your advantage to disappear. So that's why for me, I have no confidence in Houston taking advantage of it. And that's why I don't think it's the worst thing that could happen. I think having Kevin versus James Harden with the second best player being Klay Thompson, that would have been the absolute like worst if there was just no Steph Curry spreading the floor. With Steph, this team has shown that they can beat anybody with this lineup.
Yeah, like I said, I don't. Well, like I was saying, I think that's the case for most matchups. I just don't think it's the case for Houston. Matched up against Houston, they need the guy that they can throw the ball to, either on the block, on the wing, or at the top of the key. And he allows Steph and Clay to rest.
So are you
And
picking Houston to win?
no, that's not what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I said I was disappointed in what happened with them last night because there was a lack of aggression. There was a lack of aggression. Eric Gordon was the only person who was attacking, right? James Harden, Chris Paul, every other person that they looked to for buckets was tentative, especially after Durant went down, which I was saying, I still feel is the worst thing that could have happened to them at that point, especially with them having already coughed up a 20-point lead. You just coughed up a 20-point lead. I think the jump shot that Durant hit gave the Warriors back a 1-point lead because the Rockets had already taken the lead. So you got them reeling. This is a shot that is a kind of, he's trying to stem the tide a bit. He knocks it down. He gets hurt. At that point, there's blood in the water. Golden State is a little disoriented, maybe for the next 3 to 5 plays. There was a chance there for the Rockets to really make hay, to make put some distance between them and Golden State. And instead, they started running the shot clock down, not getting into any offense until there was 9 seconds left on the shot clock. And to me, I think that really, really allowed Golden State to get their footing. It allowed them to get there to regroup, so to speak. Steph started knocking down big shots. Draymond made a humongous play. He got the rebound, and as Houston was somewhat walking back on defense, ran the ball straight down the court, ran right up their backs, hit I can't remember who he hit in the corner, hit somebody for a corner three, and that right there helped to ignite them. And I just feel like Houston really wasted their opportunity to take advantage of it. I mean,
But Houston has 2 games to prepare for a Durant-less Golden State Warriors,
yes.
who we can all say this isn't a one-to-one comparison to what they were before, right? They're all a little older. Andrew Bogut's not, he's way older, right? He actually has been out of the league. Iggy's been playing really well, so I won't put him on that list because Iggy almost looks like he's just not playing during the regular season. Then he's fresh for the playoffs. But no Harrison Barnes, and as much as people want to talk about Harrison Barnes, you're basically losing KD without a replacement when KD goes down with injury. So it's a slightly different team. Although even with KD on the roster, they've performed very well when KD's been out. Why don't you think Houston will win these next 2 games?
Well, I don't think it's not what I picked Houston to win this series from the beginning, and so I'm going to stick with that
Oh, so
because
you do pick them because I asked you, are they gonna? You pick
no,
Houston to win?
you said do I have I lost confidence in them winning? So I wanted to explain where my confidence was a bit shaken, but then at the end I would round it out by saying yes, I do still pick them. That is the prediction that I made originally, and I'm going to stick with that. Um, what happened in Game 5 gives me pause, but I'm still going to stick with that prediction.
If they get past Houston, do you see any other team able to beat Golden State with no Kevin Durant?
For me, that's the wrong question. For me, is who's going to be Milwaukee? Because I'm holding on to that
Well,
prediction.
we talking about Golden State. That's why I asked.
Uh, yeah, I mean they won't beat Milwaukee. Golden State won't beat Milwaukee.
So you think they definitely, without Kevin Durant, beat Portland and Denver?
Well, I don't know if Kevin's going to be without. They're going to be without him for Denver. If that's is assuming that Portland can't come back and win 2 games, which they probably
Well,
can't.
here's the difficult thing with that is they're gonna get him. They're supposed to get him back. We don't know how that's gonna go. Because he strained a calf, and from the shot that I saw, he don't even have calves, so I don't know how that's gonna work out.
It's actually he strained the calf in the regular season as well, and he strained the
Yeah.
calf last year. He missed 3 games when it happened before, but this is
Mhm.
different because it's later in the season and you're going into a free agent year, and there's a lot
You know,
going on.
it's the second time around. Also, the playoffs are such a short turnaround. Every game is necessary.
Hmm.
There'll be no game that he wants to take off, and he's not going to be able to do any exercise. So his first game back, possibly the recovery day after, you might not get full Kevin Durant until he's back for 2 or 3 games. You might get a situation where until game 5 of the next series, you don't get Kevin Durant in terms of what he was up until now in the playoffs, which
Yeah.
was been absolutely brilliant up until
I
now.
mean, he's obviously a world-class athlete, but I did the exact same thing that he did. It looked almost the exact same thing. I jumped up for a jump shot. It was funny because I was at a 2K event and we were playing with YouTubers and Cash Nasty and a bunch of people we were playing with. And I'm telling you, it was like the second or third trip down the floor. And we were in New York. And
Mhm.
I came off came off, came off and took a pass and jumped up, took a jump shot. I can't even remember if it went in or not. I came down and I was going to take a step, like a regular step. And all of a sudden I felt, and
Yeah.
I was like, what was that? And I started stretching it out just like he did last night, because it doesn't feel like it's that at first.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel like it's something that you can't keep running with. But then like in the next 5 minutes, you literally are limping like he was limping.
Mhm.
And I was scared at the time that it was like an Achilles. I had
Achilles,
blown
yeah.
an Achilles too. So it sucks, man. It definitely sucks. But if I was him, honestly, if I was not 100%, that's my last game.
I wouldn't say that. I say, for a championship, you got to go. If you don't go for a championship, then you need to just take off the sneakers, like, period. And he's a competitor, and I think he is committed to the Golden State Warriors as much as he can be, until he's not there anymore. So I think as a competitor, he wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend he do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. I would definitely want to finish it out as soon as I felt I was ready to go. And it is a calf strain, so it's one of those things where even if it's worse, he'll recover from it. You know what I mean?
Well, from what I understand, and this is from I was listening to a couple athletes today talk about it who've had calf strains and who have had calf strains turn into other injuries because they tried to play sooner than they were 100%. And they were because of overcompensation, which happens
Hmm.
to a lot of people. They have experienced other issues that were longer term injuries. So he does have to think about that. Jalen Rose was talking about it today. He mentioned that as well.
Hmm.
So he does have to think about it. I I said if it was me, and that probably isn't true. If it was me, I'd probably try to play hurt because
Hmm.
I wouldn't be able to do. But it's probably not the smartest thing. And in retrospect, he probably would be like, if it did end up hurting himself further, he probably look back and say, man, I
Yeah, I think it's
that
definitely a
in a
risky
row.
proposition,
Yeah.
coming back and playing playoff basketball on it. But
Hmm.
I think it's a risk he's forced to take because the reputation hit of him being cleared by the doctors and not playing because he's getting a paycheck. That's worse.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think to a degree, there's people who would understand because of the situation that he's in going into a free agent year, about to be the biggest free agent on the market. And from my understanding, and so this is, I mean, obviously you've heard this before. Everybody said this before, but I've learned from some place that has proven to be pretty reliable. Which last year I told everybody months before it happened that LeBron was a lock to the Lakers.
Hmm.
Okay, Kevin Durant is a lock to the Knicks. It's
Hmm.
going to happen.
Hmm.
It's already been. It's happening. It's not
Hmm.
a if it happens. It's none of that. But it could be a if it happens if he hurts himself
Well,
first.
what I think the danger of that is really Kawhi has been so great that if he looks like he's limping into the offseason, if the Knicks had the choice between him and Kawhi, Kawhi being younger, um, being so great defensively, being so great during the playoffs, I do think Kawhi is legitimate competition for Kevin Durant as a free agent,
I think so
particularly if
too.
he's hurt. Like
I think so too.
if he's limping, I don't think a franchise just says KD or Kawhi, KD all day. No, I think they go, well, hold on now, how does how does he fit in? Who does he play with? Kawhi's younger. Like I do think that you say he's the biggest free agent on the market. While I don't think that that's necessarily untrue, it's untrue in the sense that I think Kawhi is pretty much equally as big at this point.
Well,
Um,
here's the thing. I don't think that if KD were to decide to sit out the remainder of the postseason, I don't think that would be looked at as he's limping into the offseason.
right, because you
Because
assume he'll be healthy.
bec-
But if
and
he gets
because
hurt again,
yes, and
then maybe not.
right,
But I think I don't know. I think it's one of those things where they'll talk to the doctors, they'll take a look at him. There's a pretty good amount of time between, let's hypothetically, whenever he would stop playing and when July 1st hits, that you'd see him dunking on people in practice or whatever. If it's a 4 to 6 week injury, you have about that time for people to say no, he's still Kevin Durant, he's fine. So I think it'd be fine ultimately either way. I think he has to play and try to win this championship. I do think they're in a lot of danger, but I just don't trust Houston to close the deal.
yeah, I think they're in a lot of danger. I think put it like this: Houston should win. They should
On
win.
paper, they should
They should
definitely win.
win both of these games.
Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors, just from an energy level yesterday, look spent. They look popped from. I mean, if you look at their faces, I'm not even talking. I'm talking about even before Durant got hurt. I
Hmm.
mean, after Durant got hurt, they looked a little invigorated, to be
Hmm.
honest. But
Hmm.
right before, I mean, they had that sunken face look that is like a team that's literally getting run over and they don't have the energy to pull themselves out. But the injury seemed to ignite Steph. And I got so much more respect for Steph last night after that. It was really awesome.